everybody, it's Bill, and I'm here to talk to you about our Spectrum lesson for this Sunday, the 1st of May. This week, we're continuing to learn more about Paul's letters and the early church, and we're spending our second week with the first letter to the Corinthians. Last week, we heard about how Paul founded the church in Corinth, along with his fellow tent makers Priscilla and Aquila, and how after they'd spent a while there, they moved on to a new city, and after they left, the church began to fall apart. There was some division in the church because people were arguing about who had the best teacher. Some people were following Peter, others were following Paul, and then there was this third group that followed a man named Apollos. And Paul writes to tell them that all three of them, Peter, Paul, and Apollos, are great teachers. And the point is not who has the best teacher, but how they can all work together to follow Christ and to build up the church as a whole. This week we're reading chapter 13, and it continues Paul's lesson and his emphasis on the people in Corinth working together. We get the impression from his letter that there were some serious problems there, and he references that he'd already written them once, and then we know that Paul has a second letter to the Corinthians, and so he had to write to them several times to try and whip them back into shape after he left. That's good news for those of us in today's church that still see lots of problems, to know that we are not the first people to struggle with division or with disagreement in the church, and that even the churches that were founded by Paul, one of the earliest and greatest teachers the church has ever had, struggled sometimes. So chapter 13. We've heard this chapter a lot at weddings. This is Paul's famous hymn to love. Love is patient, love is kind. Love hopes all things, believes all things, and endures all things. When we hear this poem read, the voice I usually get in my head is that of like a Shakespearean poet or something really formal, talking about how beautiful love is and how it should inspire us to be our very best selves for our partner or our husband or our wife. Some commentators suggest that the voice that we should hear in our heads is instead an angry teacher or parent chastising us, because that's what Paul is doing to the church. What he's doing is listing all of the ways that the Corinthians are not living up to their calling. He's saying, you are not being patient, you are not being kind, you are not forbearing your differences. This is how you need to act. Get with the program. And that really colors the way that we read the passage, I think, and changes the emphasis of what you look for. And it reminds us that love is not just a warm, fuzzy feeling that we get in our hearts. Love is something that we do. Love is something that we show by our actions. And that's the main point that we should drive home to the kids today, that love is not just a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's something we show by our actions. And we'll be exploring that in a number of ways. I'll do a chat with the kids upstairs to introduce the story. And when you come downstairs after you've checked in, you've asked Bill's big question, and collected the offering, there's a short video clip to watch, and I'll have the DVD there for you. And this will talk a little bit more about the reading and about the trouble in the church and how Paul wrote to them to try and address the trouble. And then I have a scroll for you to look at. We won't read it upstairs this week, but it paraphrases chapter 13 in modern language, and have the kids listen for the different ways that Paul describes what love is and what love isn't. And you can discuss with the kids. There's some questions in the lesson notes about how we're called to love everyone, even people that it's difficult to love, even people that we might not like very much. We're called to show them this agape love. Now, the Greeks had 4 different words they used for love. They didn't just have one like we do. They had lots of different ones. The love that's used in chapter 13 is agape. Agape is an all-encompassing love that extends to all people. It's not just a romantic love. It goes beyond that. It's something that God has for us and that we're meant to share with all people as a reflection of God's love for us and God's love for others. Agape love is something we can share with everyone. After you've watched the movie and read the scroll and had your WeChat, Allison Reed's prepared a great craft for us, and that is love biscuit boxes. And I'll put a picture of those here for you to look at. It's a simple craft, but it may take some time, and the smaller kids may need a lot of help with this. The first thing that you'll want to do is to fold the cardstock provided into a box shape. The second thing you'll want to do is write the letters LOVE on 4 heart-shaped biscuits, And the third step is to put them in the box and take them home to share with your family or friends. This looks like a really good lesson. It's a great theme that still resonates with us today, and I hope it goes really well. I'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Bye.